What's up, guys? I got the keys here, back with another video. So today I want to talk about something personal that I had to go through in my life, and it may not resonate with everybody, but just wanted to share my experience. So, if other people want to follow along, I want you to know that it's possible. But, basically this is going to talk about, quitting substances. And for me, that was mostly plant medicine, marijuana, mushrooms, all this stuff. And for me, it was I started really reflecting on why I even got into it in the first place. And for me, it was a heartbreak, right? It was for something that, something that really hurt me internally. At least I felt like it was, but it really was just my ego being hurt. And, I also, I ended up getting a lung problem from it. And I ended up having to go to the hospital for that. And I made a video about this months ago, if not years ago at this point. I'm not even sure if it's still on here, but basically I could not breathe and I had an asthma attack. So I've had asthma since I was a young kid, probably 8, 9 years old. And I love smoking weed, guys. I was like a big time stoner. And, when I first got into it, I wasn't like that. I would only smoke with friends and, whatever. But as I got further into that journey, it started getting worse and worse and worse. And I would be smoking every day, all day, carts, flower, whatever, right? And for a while, it did help me on my journey, so I'm not going to lie to you guys. For a while, it did help me get in tune with myself. It did help me relax. It did help me do those things, and I'm not going to deny that of the plant, right? This is not here to scrutinize these plant medicines. It's just giving you my experience so that if you want to get sober, I want you to know that it's possible, right? But, this has to resonate with your soul, right? Because not everybody's going to choose that same option, which is fine. And I also started to realize as I got more spiritually aware, the frequency of cannabis it would end up lowering me most of the time. Like, unless I was in a low frequency and then I would smoke, that was a different story. But if I was high vibes and I was higher than the frequency of the cannabis, I would end up limiting myself down to the frequency of the cannabis, right? And because I don't know if you guys know that, but whenever you take in a plant or a fungus or anything, they all have their own frequency, just like you, right? Since, you are a vibration. This is why people say, I like your vibe, that kind of thing. And so cannabis has its own frequency, right? It has its own vibration. And if you are higher than that vibration, then it's going to bring you down, okay? So if you really start paying attention when you smoke, or just be really aware of what's going on. And for some people, it helps them tap in, which is no problem. Like I said, this isn't going to resonate with everybody. But for me, I started to notice it would end up lowering my frequency, and I would also have shame and guilt because I knew I wanted to be sober, but I was still smoking. And I knew I was doing it to hide my feelings, right? And I don't even want to say to hide my feelings, because I would still feel things. It's just like, when you smoke, you don't really give a shit about anything anymore, right? And so that's kind of what I was searching for, was to always be in that comfort state. And that's not good when you're on this journey for, if you really want to start tapping in to higher, frequencies. Because like I said, that cannabis resonates on a certain frequency. And again, I'm not saying you can't tap into a higher frequency on it. I'm just saying that, typically sober is the best way if you really want to get closer to God, yourself. And, I understand that a lot of, people will go against this and say that, they feel better when they're smoking, or they feel better when they take mushrooms or whatever, which I'll agree with you. I love mushrooms, guys. I'm not here to advocate for them, but they're also something that really helped me along my journey. And honestly, that was how I found myself, right? That was how I ended up looking internally and really searching for God, and really, trying to understand what all of this was and what I was going through. That was actually how I had my spiritual awakening, right? And again, I don't want to permit anybody to use substances, but if you are going to use them, please use them safely. Please be wary of what can happen. Weed-induced psychosis. You can also get psychosis from mushrooms. And this isn't to put you in fear. This is just to warn you of what can happen if you abuse these things and, things go the wrong way. So, this is just my testimony, because I'm almost 6 months here sober, and I was actually sober till I was 21, believe it or not. The only thing I had ever tried was alcohol, and I didn't like that at all. So, until I was 21, that was my first time smoking weed. And I just never felt the need for it, because my dad was a recovering addict, right? And I saw what drugs did to him, and I never wanted to be like that. So for me, weed didn't feel like that kind of drug. It didn't feel like something that was, inhibiting me from becoming my best self at that time, right? But like I said, as you kind of get further along, I was doing it for 7 years, so you can imagine, 21 to I'm now 28, and I just literally just kicked it. Now, not saying I didn't take breaks in those years where there was moments of my life where I stopped for months, and I had no problem. It didn't really affect me. I just really liked smoking. But my why started to change, and I'm like, why do I want to smoke? And this is when I started questioning things, and I'm like, why do I always want to do this? But then I realized how much the plant actually calls you back to her, right? Again, this is a vibration. She has a consciousness, okay? This is why you get thoughts when you smoke. It opens a portal above you, okay? And I know this is going to sound crazy, but it does open a portal to your mind, okay? And this is why you get creative thoughts. This is why you get intuitive hits. So, again, not saying it's a bad thing, not saying it's a good thing. But it's also a cautionary thing, so that you're aware of what you're doing, right? And what you're opening up to. Okay, it's the same thing with shrooms. When you take shrooms, you are opening your aura to the things around you, okay? And this is why people, get in contact with a spirit, or they get in contact with some demonic entity or something, right? But using discernment in those times is your best friend, okay? And that means a clear knowing of who or what is around you, right? Everything is God, yes, but there's lower forms of God. And so those things would be experienced as your demons, right? Doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean they're good. They're just here to show you things about yourself, right? Now, anything trying to take over you, obviously not good, okay? So not everything is benevolent, and not everything wants to help you, okay? So, another reason I quit. It's just, I got really delusional, guys, really delusional. To the point where, like, it wasn't affecting me that bad, but, like, you know, I got way too dreamy. Whereas, like, I wasn't staying in physical reality. So a lot of the time I was in my mind. A lot of the time I was trying to be in the spiritual, right? Rather than being in both at the same time, right? And that's where I am now. I'm very balanced. And not that I never was, you know, but it's just, you know how it goes. If you're smoking all the time, you know. But for me, that was mostly mushrooms that was doing that. And especially the way I was using them, again, I love them, but it's something to be careful with. Again, you are opening yourself to things. Again, I've never really had bad experiences, so to say. I've had like bad trips, but they were honestly beneficial to me too. So I can't really say anything. But ultimately, being sober feels so much better. I have so much more energy. That was another thing with weed. I would always be way more tired, especially if I slept with weed and I woke up the next morning. I'd realize how much groggier I was compared to now, where I can go to sleep and I don't feel like that usually. Like, I mean, yeah, you might every once in a while wake up in the morning a little tired, whatever. That's normal. We're going through energy, right? So, but ultimately, I promise you, being sober is great. And it might take some time for you to adjust, and don't let yourself get shameful if you end up going back to it and then quitting again and going back to it and quitting again. That's part of the process. It took me a while to really accept myself as this new version where I'm not smoking, where I'm not doing these things. And ultimately, it was to bring a better version of myself onto YouTube, right? And also to my friends and family, and show them that there is a way out. So I hope this helped you in some way. And this video is just for those people that are looking for that way out, right? I want you to know that it's possible and you can do it, okay? You just got to keep your mind very disciplined to it, okay? And find something else to replace it. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I love you. Bye.